let me just, all right, so I will get my slides going. Here we go. All right. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So can you see my screen, Julie?
Certainly can.
Excellent. All right. Let's get started. So Dental Practice Success is our new webinar series, and today we're focusing on marketing, sales, and team training. This is a new style of webinar. Julie Parker and myself, whom you meet shortly, have decided to put this together because there's a few gaps between marketing events, team training, and so on that I think would be really helpful to a lot of practices. So this is a joint event between Practice Results and Julie Parker Practice Success. My name is Alexei Kulishov. I run a digital marketing agency called Practice Results. I run a few other businesses as well. I'm based in Brisbane. I have been doing Google Ads primarily for the last 15 years, but we do specialize in a few other things that you learn about as well. I've got 11 staff with offices in Brisbane, Gold Coast, and Melbourne. Our business is based on relationships, so we don't do contracts. And overall, I tend to specialize in growth strategies for practices. I do work with a lot of different practices, whether it's dental, chiropractic, and so on, but majority of our customers ended up being dentists for some reason. I'm also an author. I'm working on my second book right now called Better Business That Works, and I have a podcast that I've recently launched called Better Business. Now, Julie, based in Melbourne. Julie, I'd rather you do your own intro because I don't want to take this away from you. So tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. And Better Business, I've just put that down. Podcasts are so fantastic. So I didn't realize you had one, Alexi. That's fantastic. So my name is Julie Parker, and I do find most bios too long and boring, and so I'm going to make it really short and sweet. I've been in the dental industry for a long time, since I was 17 years old. When I was 33, I became the first non-dentist to buy a practice in Australia. Victoria was the only state where you're allowed to do it, so I was very lucky that I was in this state. Owned that for 10 years, loved every minute of it, and anyone out there that's a practice owner or practice manager understands the huge self-awareness growth journey that you go on when you start managing people and you have the weight of all the responsibilities lying on your shoulders, but I loved it. 2014, founded Julie Parker Practice Success with my co-founder, Charles Curves, also Australasia's passion provocateur, and my husband as well. And over the last few years, I've been collaborating with Amina Basile with Dental Business Mastery as well. So I've got Julie Parker Practice Success for the one-on-one programs, and people like the lovely Sally and Rani know that we've got our online one-year program for dental practice managers through Dental Business Mastery and Amina, and have a lot of fun doing the online space.
Great. So I guess today's agenda, and Julie and I have put this together, I guess, based on our specialties. I wanted to cover the effective marketing campaigns. And look, marketing is probably not the thing that you want to hear about the most because everyone's really busy, but I think there are a few things worth mentioning. Also, I wanted to have a bit of a chat about connecting marketing to sales, because I think there's a huge gap. Now, from Julie's perspective, I think there are a few tactics for receptionists that she could share some insights on, and then building things like customer loyalty and building a cohesive team environment are the topics that Julie is going to cover. In the end, we'll do the Q&A, and look, we'll do our best to sort of fit this all in the next hour or so. All right, so why this webinar? Look, first of all, I think it's very important to understand that continuous learning really allows you to be better than your competitors and overall excel in what you do. So I've been doing digital marketing and I've been doing entrepreneurship for the last 15 years. Julie's been in the game for quite some time as well. I think you learn a few things from today's event at the absolute least. I think if you're looking for direction in terms of personal or business development, we should be able to provide you with a few insights. And overall, I think it's important to review your activities. Like a lot of people really do marketing campaigns and they sort of set and forget them. And then next thing you know, you keep getting customers, but they're not really the right sort of customers. So overall, my passion is really all about getting businesses better customers, customers that they love working with, and customers that are profitable for them as well. We're going to talk about things like customer loyalty, because I think a lot of practices unfortunately miss the point. They are so hungry for new patients, they forget about the past ones, which really, in my opinion, is a bit of a rat race. At least that's what it creates. And then overall, things like team culture, I'm sure, Julie, you can touch on something like that. It is an issue for a lot of businesses, especially in the times of COVID, when it's very hard to find staff, when you got new people coming in and joining your team. It's very difficult to maintain something like that. And overall, I think improving your sales process and looking at onboarding customers as a sales process is one of the reasons why we're doing this. Okay, so let's start with effective marketing campaigns. And Julie, feel free to jump in if you want to add any comments, but put together a bit of a presentation, I thought, which would have a bit of a flow, which then would tap into your presentation. So overall, you guys are getting 2 presentations in one, and I think this is going to be at least interesting for you. So first of all, common problems. Marketing for a lot of businesses isn't effective. And look, if you haven't reviewed it, if you look into your conversion rates and the likes, you will find that sometimes you're paying too much for the leads. Sometimes you're getting inquiries coming through that are not specifically ideal. And then you've got all sorts of things like people not showing up and so on. So there are gaps in the whole thing. The economy is changing. Obviously, buyers' confidence is, not the same as it used to be through COVID. Overseas are open as well. So a lot of people are going to the dental tourism providers as well, which wasn't really the case for the last couple of years. And I think a lot of businesses end up attracting a lot of customers that are ideal. And the problem with that is if you think that everybody's your customer or you treat everybody, then you've got a bit of a problem happening, because if you can't focus on what's profitable, then your business becomes very much mediocre. A lot of businesses don't have a marketing strategy or haven't really reviewed their strategy in a long time, so it may not be current. So if you started doing something 10 years ago and it's getting you, general dentistry appointments, people coming through and so on, great, but your business may have changed, or you may have got a new staff member that specializes in something, you haven't got any work for them. So there are a few situations like that. And often I find that sometimes staff can't really support the business growth avenues. And what I mean by that is you may have people that are really good at servicing your day-to-day patients, but the moment people start asking questions that are a little bit more complex, or they dive into, hey, how much is this? They are unable to sort of support that to get people flowing through to your practice and becoming a customer. So before we jump in, I thought I'd just do a quick overview of our services so they understand what we specialize in as practice results. We do a lot of web development. We do email marketing campaigns and process automation. And if you guys don't do email marketing, I recommend this is the #1 thing in terms of cost efficiency to get your past customers or your prospects into your sales pipeline again. We do a lot of SEO and SEM, so things like Google Ads and so on, social media advertising, and we do a lot of business sales and marketing consulting, because I find that overall, without addressing the actual onboarding of the customer, it's very difficult to get the right inquiries coming through. So this is the spectrum of what Practice Results provides. Now, to make things simple for you, I really wanted to introduce our SMART process, because I think this is a great takeaway for you guys. You could really easily follow this and potentially stay on track. So first of all, before you jump into anything, I would recommend sitting down and establishing some goals. So rather than putting a budget of, let's say, $500 or $1,000 a month into your marketing, try to understand what that's actually going to buy you. So how many leads are you looking to acquire? How many customers are you wanting to get? And how much are these customers costing you? So you really need to understand the specifics of it before you actually move forward. I've got another slide to cover each one of these points, so bear with me in terms of the strategy, because many of you are probably thinking, hey, what strategy is there? Message, well, this is all about creating a tailored message and offers according to your target market. So if you are coming up with an offer specifically, let's say around orthodontics for people that are inquiring for orthodontics, you generally would get a better response from the market, as opposed to saying something like we do Invisaligns. Then attracting customers is really all about writing your campaigns and potentially attracting the right sort of people. And you can be really quite purposeful with the whole marketing side of things. Reviewing strategy is the one thing that obviously you can do internally, or if you've got an agency doing things for you, they can fine-tune your marketing message and help you with the sales process as well. And finally, tweaking, improving campaigns and test new avenues, because if you keep running the same things over and over, you may get a very similar result. It's also very important to review what your competitors are doing as well, but we'll touch on that side of things as well. Cool. So in terms of strategies, there's typically 4 business strategies that you generally would follow. I mean, you can break this down into as much as you want and keep it complicated. I want to keep it simple. So the first strategy that people would focus on is typically market penetration. So if you just open up your practice, you're a new business or you offer new services to the area, you really need to establish yourself. Now, most of you would obviously have established businesses. So really, I think we should focus on the next one, which is probably going to be the most appropriate one, which is market development. This is about selling existing services to new clients, which is the majority of what you guys are trying to do. The third type of strategy is product development, which is selling new products to existing clients. And for that, you basically need to make sure you've got a list or some sort of a system that you work with. And finally, the fourth strategy is diversification, which is all about taking new products to new clients. And this is where a lot of businesses really struggle. You really need to understand that positioning yourself in a new market as an expert requires trust. And this is really what you're looking to achieve through your marketing exercises. Overall, the goal is really to create tailored message to each client avatar. We'll talk about this in a second. So in terms of message, I really like to look into the whole process from the 3M perspective. And in fact, a lot of people would refer to this as the definition of marketing. Marketing consists of market, media, and message. So first of all, who are you targeting? The avatar, the types of people that you're targeting. What channels are you going to use? Is it going to be social media? Is it going to be, Instagram? Is it going to be TikTok, Google, and so on? And message, what ads are you going to show them as well? And really, like, you're not targeting everybody. The beauty of digital marketing is exactly this diagram. You really, if you're specific, you're really just targeting a small segment of people that actually allows you to be very specific and really get the attention. So really, it's about creating tailored message for each client avatar and delivering, the message via an appropriate channel. Now, attracting customers is really all about, running campaigns. And this is an example that I thought I'd bring up. So we are doing a checkup and clean type of campaign for a general dentistry practice in Brisbane. And the market that we are after is female, married, and parents. And you'll find that about 70% of the market are women, because typically they're the ones looking after the family's health. So they're the ones booking their husbands and kids and so on. And if you're being a little bit more purposeful around that, the message would obviously follow that as well. We are delivering this message using Google Ads and also social remarketing. So the moment people sort of come through, they get a follow-up ad using Instagram and Facebook as well. And this is the message that we're pushing through. So this is how it's delivered. The business is called Crestmead Dental, and you'll see a pop-up on their website coming up with a special offer, which captures their name and email, and people can inquire about this as well. Now, why are we doing it in this way? The reason being is that when people see a particular message, a lot of the time they're not ready to act straight away. Now, this is one of the reasons why people get some inquiries that don't really originate in appointments. So if you're going to push for something like this, you need to understand the timing of it. But we basically use this as a way of bringing new customers through and also build up a prospect list. Because by having a prospect list, we're then able to follow these people up and book them for other services like orthodontics, implants, and so on, depending on who we're targeting. So this is a real example there for you. Now, reviewing marketing is really more about looking at the overall customer journey. And I think this is a bit of a simpler way to look at it. I mean, overall, you are creating awareness, right? You're basically putting a message out there, whether it's on social media, whether it's on Google. You basically want to educate the market and grab their attention about what you do. And then from there, you want people to be able to find you, because people often don't make a decision straight away. So this is where the Google search comes in, the reviews and so on, which obviously flows into your reputation online. Most people will research you before they start dialing a number or potentially start to book online. And then from there, you need to understand the conversion process. It's people actually showing up, people being educated about a service. Then from there, doing a transaction and hopefully coming back and recommending you to their friends as well. Overall, you're really looking for gaps within this process. And from our perspective, we can put systems and process in place in order to follow people up. So let's say after somebody has visited your website, but they haven't done anything, we can send them a follow-up message through social media and Google Ads to let them know about the offers that we've got happening and so on. So that's typically the nuts and bolts of it. But basically, when you're doing a review, don't just look at the marketing side of things, look at the whole process and try to understand where the gaps are and see how you can fill those gaps as well. Another aspect of the whole marketing review that's worth considering is the whole seasonality and also your competitors as well. You'll find at different times of the year, people behave differently. You'll find that school holidays, for example, will get a lot of mums booking their kids for those holidays as well. So if you basically forecast these things in advance, you should be able to have those people booking appointments prior to those events occurring. In terms of competitors, if you look at your closest competitors geographically, and everyone's running a checkup and clean offer, I would recommend looking into that and potentially coming up with something that really stands out. Obviously, there are things you can and you can't say, but what you want to do is be different from the actual competitors that are coming up nearby as well. Also, obviously, we had COVID with all the different consumer behavior, which was a bit unpredictable at times, but we right now are at a point where things are sort of becoming to normalize in terms of consumer behavior, and we really need to understand how to adjust marketing according to that as well. Finally, tweaking the actual marketing. It's really more about starting from top to bottom and looking as to how you can get a better outcome. So look at your ads, and the objective of the ads is to have marketing engagement and getting a customer response. So are your ads actually getting clicked on? Are people visiting your website? And look, if you don't look into your analytics regularly and stuff, whoever's doing your marketing, ask them to put together a bit of a short report, because really what you want is a one page, and you need to understand how many people have you got coming through. Is that more than the previous month? How are the conversions going, and so forth. We do this through Google Data Studio, which allows us to consolidate the Google Ads and the analytics reports as well. I'm sure the company that you'd be working with may be able to provide you with something like that, but it's a fairly simple process. Looking at leads, overall, you're looking at conversion rates, and you're looking also at the quality of the leads that are coming through as well. Then from there, bookings. This is really the close rates. If someone's inquiring and coming through, you really want to make sure they become a customer. Now, while people are inquiring about general things like a toothache or potentially getting a root canal done, maybe a faster process due to the urgency. However, you may find that the whole process really stretches out when people are doing orthodontics or potentially really complex procedures like the all-on-4s, for example. Overall, in terms of your marketing, you want to look at the return on investment. So what's worked? How much did you spend to acquire X or Y number of customers? And then also run your split test. Make sure that you actually try different messages. Make sure you try different offers, and you tailor things specifically to your ideal target market. You really want to make sure that your business is profitable. And look, this may sound unnatural, but busy doesn't mean profitable. And a lot of the time people get so hung up being busy, they completely miss the point that the whole business operation is about being profitable right at the end. So connecting marketing and sales, and hopefully you're with me so far. We'll do questions right in the end. And look, Julie, like I said, feel free to jump in. But I want to sort of build a bit of a bridge between the whole marketing and the sales side of things. So I've put a few extra slides in here. And I guess I personally found that marketing works best when it's built around the sales process. So whatever your process is, it's best to basically specifically focus on those selling points, or unique selling points, if you like, when it comes to advertising. Otherwise, you're going to have a lot of people inquiring through, and sometimes you just can't connect the two things. And this is really where it's important to make sure that your staff is on the same page as you are in terms of what's actually being promoted. What's your market positioning overall? How do you position yourself? Are you the cheapest? Are you focusing on premium service? Are you specializing in something, or are you a general practice? Like, it's really important to define that as well. Aqua principle, we'll talk about this in a second, but overall, you really want to make sure there's a flow in communication. Now, let's talk about the aqua principle. This is one of the things that we've put together over the years based on really, I guess, the 4 areas of the marketing message that customers are mainly focused on. So, I mean, I'm sure you'll tell me that a lot of people just call up and ask for the price. And we specifically put affordability last, because last thing you want to talk about is the price. You really want to make sure you take people through a bit of a process in order to educate them and make sure you position your business in the right way. So starting with availability, when can you help them? So if someone's calling about toothaches and stuff, and they're saying, how much do you charge? Now that you can see the urgency to the whole thing, you can really change the conversation and make it around that. So if you are doing something like that, you could potentially change your marketing message to walk-ins available, no appointments required. Now, these are just ideas. I'm not suggesting you do something like this, but it obviously all depends on your business. The second point is things like convenience. How are you making your service easy for the customer? So this is really all about making sure that the customers are able to easily engage you. So for example, if you're in Brisbane CBD and the parking is a bit of a problem, you may be providing parking for the customers, or you may have an arrangement with the parking company nearby. Advertising that really breaks the barrier and allows the customer to come through. Utility. So what's your credibility? Why should they choose you? How would they build rapport with you? Do you support any organizations that people may resonate with? That's really all about utility. And finally, affordability. Now, affordability is not about being the cheapest. It's about being affordable. This is where covering things like health funds, payment plans, and so on really strikes a chord when you talk to the customers. And look, if the customer calls you and asks you how much do you charge and give them a flat price, in my opinion, you're actually doing them a disservice, because first of all, you don't even know specifically what their circumstances are like. And then if you're able to simply answer a question like that, then you enter the price game where people are just comparing apples with oranges based on price alone. So in my opinion, you really need to consider this aqua principle in your marketing and make sure you cover all these points within your ad materials. Now, let's talk about the basic business revenue formula, because a lot of the time, and I find a lot of businesses don't even bother educating their staff about something like this. But this, in my opinion, is relatively straightforward, but does require further understanding. So the basic business model, business revenue formula is really all about number of leads that are coming through, multiplied by your conversion rate, multiplied by the price, multiplied by repetition, that equals to your revenue. Now, with dental practices being a repeat business model, repetition plays a huge role. However, if you look at an example, so let's say you get 10 leads, you convert half of them at $250 and you do business with them once. And unfortunately, I see this quite a lot. People just focus on that single transaction. People really miss the point. Like, even if you try to focus on the repetition, you still don't get the outcome that you should be getting. First of all, if you were to improve, I would recommend looking at the conversion rate as the number one thing. And this is really where staff training comes in, better marketing, being a little bit more strategic about things. If you increase your conversion rate by 20%, and that's not impossible for that same service at the same price, and improve your repetition rate to, let's say, 1.1, increase it by 10%, whether this is a person, 1 in 10 people coming back to you or they refer a friend or something, the outcome is massive. And really what you're wanting to do is change the qualifying process. Make sure if people call, you have a better conversation with them. The better conversation isn't all about the service. Try to understand who they are and what their problems are. Use the aqua principle within the conversation as well. When do you need it? Are you driving? Do you need access of certain kind, and so on and so on. Make sure you've got structured follow-ups. If people call about more complicated, high ticket procedures, you really need to make sure that you've got a bit of a breakdown to the process as well. What I found really helped one of our clients is potentially changing the actual sales process into milestones, if you like. So set appointment that allows you to qualify and educate a person. Do a consultation, which allows you to build trust and create a sale. And then from there, basically into the whole treatment side of things. Overall, I think this as a 3-step process really allows the receptionist, your appointment setters, to really speak to customers easier, because they're not giving them a price on something that is really expensive. And then overall, in terms of the actual consultation, this is where people build trust with you. So the customer that we've done this for is doing all-on-4 treatments in Melbourne. And they've been able to absolutely nail their sales process because of this. Because prior to it, people would just call up and say, how much is it? Hey, it's about $25,000. And we really had to change that flow in order to get people through and enter a sales funnel, if you like. One of the last things I want to cover today is 3 common customer journeys. Now, this is a bit of a flow that we find. And overall, I find that a lot of businesses really get hung up in one of these more than others. So first of all, there are customers that are looking to fix a problem. So this is your toothaches. People are basically knocking your door saying, hey, I need a toothache. I need it right now. And they are reactive. They're the sort of customers that aren't often ideal, but you can educate them and make them a better customer. Advertising for walk-ins and emergency appointments and last-minute things allows for you to service people like that. Now, it's important to be mindful of these customer journeys, because you can either negate them or actually be mindful and be strategic about these people. Now, the second category is all about preventing. So this is all about fear of missing out, the FOMO or harm, and people are very proactive. They do their checkup and cleans, and really it's all about maintenance. So if you basically position yourself like that, checkup and clean really attracts those sort of customers. You do maintenance plans for people that need regular appointments and so on. And really, this is where you create your repeat clients. Finally, you've got a customer journey where it's all about improving. And this is where people are looking for aspiration or try to reverse the risk. This is where people want to work with a specialist. And this is where I find that a lot of general dental practices struggle to promote high-end services like implants or potentially orthodontics, because they're just not aligned with the rest. So if you're doing that, you're really wanting to focus on long-term results, the bigger why behind the decision. If someone's getting veneers done, why are they getting it done? What's the overall motivation behind the scenes? And your conversation will actually wrap around these as well. And then from there, you need to understand that that requires additional onboarding. You can't just go and say, hey, come in, it's going to be $250 and then we'll see what we're going to do from there. Like you're not really gaining their trust by doing something. Like you really need to make sure you break that down. Hopefully this makes sense. Now, in terms of tips, I thought I'd give you a couple of tips, and I'm sure Julie will continue from some of these tips. Make sure you educate your teams about the campaigns that you're running, because the worst thing that you want is someone calling up and your staff member being completely unaware what's actually going on, what sort of special offer you may be running. Provide basic sales training to your entire team. Doesn't matter who they are. If they're able to support one another and answer basic questions and potentially be in the know as to where the materials are, what it actually looks like, that would definitely help. Make sure that you run campaigns in line with your growth strategy. So if you want to get new patients on board, let's say you're expanding your practice from 2 chairs to 4 chairs or something like that, you need to understand what's required for that. If your plan is to go for checkup and cleans because they're repeat customers and then educate them to sell them other things as well, that's fine. But you need to have a strategy in place and make sure that you run your campaigns in line with those as well. Make sure that customer follow-up is a must. Like if somebody's calling, you really need to make sure that you spend some time on this. You can't just focus on the new inquiries come through. And I do come across a lot of busy businesses. In fact, this has actually become a bit of a habit over COVID. People get so busy, they're just focused on the new inquiries coming through, as opposed to focusing on the follow-ups and making sure that they get quality coming through. As a result, you get a lot of no-shows, you get a lot of people that potentially pull out last minute. And I think a follow-up, especially for high-end, high-ticket items, really is a must. And then finally, make sure that you activate new opportunities from your list using email marketing. So send out an email blast to your customer base. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know about the new people that have joined the practice. Let them know about, I guess, some of the procedures that you've been doing, or if you've got anything coming up. I personally think, with the school holidays just finishing, sending out an email blast saying, hey, book in advance for your school holidays will allow you to have a full schedule for the next school holidays without basically having to think about it twice. Try to be a step ahead. And I guess make sure that you enable things like customer advocacy. And for this, you really need to make sure that you talk to your customers, because customers will recommend people to you, but it'll be happening sort of organically based on the events that are occurring. You really want to make sure that you arm those customers with the right message. And if you're running any particular offers or doing new services, they're in the know. So spend a little bit of time educating your customers. So why do clients choose to work with us? I thought I'd just put a couple of points in here. Like I said before, we work with no contracts arrangement. We basically work on month-to-month basis. And for us, the most important thing is relationship. We've been in the game for 15 years. My main business is called Euresio Solutions. And since 2015, we've actually niched into the dental. So we started practice results. So I've been in this game for a long, long time. We specialize in practice marketing, mainly dental, but we do work with specialist doctors, bariatric surgeons, as well as chiros and physios as well. We have a local friendly team and we try to do things, as personal as we can. We don't do any surprises. So if we charge a certain fee, we charge a certain fee. Our main thing is results-based. We want to make sure that you get a fixed number of results. And then from there, we focus on the best practices. So our guarantee is that what we're going to deliver is in line with everything else. And there's obviously a great testimonial there from one of our clients. We've been running Google Ads for this guy. They run a physio practice in North Brisbane. And overall, they're really happy with the work that we do, but we're also able to address things in a very timely manner as well. So some of our clients, I've got some of the logos here, and our game really started with 1300 Smiles. I'm sure some of you may know about Dell Holmes and what he's doing. That has really enabled us to get really deep knowledge of the dental industry and allow us to basically run some really cool campaigns. Daryl's a good friend and love working with those guys as well. Anyway, well, if you guys feel like, we can help, one way or another, I'm offering a free consultation. So if you guys need a strategy or potentially want to do something like a website critique, not sure if it's working for you or not, basically here is a QR code that you can scan to book that. We do campaign reviews or competitor niche analysis. And here's my email address if you want to do so as well. So that's pretty much my part of the presentation. I'm hanging around. I'm going to get Julie to focus on her side of the webinar, and then we'll do the Q&As right at the end. Julie, over to you.
Fantastic. And do hang around, Alexi, because I may get your input throughout. And gosh, that last half hour was an example for everybody about why we need expert assistance with marketing. There are so many steps to the process, and there's so much, it's such a changing space as well. All of us as dental practice employees and practice owners, we are focusing on how we manage the patient, the systems of the practice, how to be successful. And marketing is a very big part of it, but it's an area where people study for years to be able to get very good at. And so definitely jump to the next slide, Alexi, and you did a great job at helping us recognize the multitude of steps that are involved. And I'm going to go into a little bit about that in a few slides' time. But first of all, I wanted to encourage anybody who wants to put something in chat, please throw it in straight away. And then we can speak to any points that are relevant for you at the moment. Two tactics that I wanted to share with you that when I do coaching and consulting with dental practices, and we really want to make sure that all of that time, energy, money that we're devoting to people like Alexi and the marketing processes, that when those new callers come in to the practice, that we're making best use of them. And the first of my two very strong recommendations to you is to get the email address of the person who's calling if they don't book in. Good to get it anyway, because welcome emails to these new patients when they do book in are a fantastic idea. But the email address, I'm going to let you know why it's so important. As many receptionists know, we could have 10 callers coming into the practice and we'll only possibly book half of them. And then in some practices that might be great, half of them booked in, that's terrific. And the other half might be but why didn't the other half book in? And that's because we've got new callers calling in for various different reasons. Sometimes they're calling in because they're ready to book in straight away. Other times they're calling in because they're still in that research part of the buying process. If you'd like to liken it to how we buy a car, we don't just decide one day to buy a car and then go straight to a car yard and buy one. We do a bit of research, what make, what model, what's my price range, the economic side of things, with the fuel economy, that side of things. We don't just leap into the purchase. Depending on the dollar value and the complexity of that purchase is dependent on how much research we do prior to. So what we want to do in those situations, when we've got a new caller calling in, we want to, and I'll tell you a little bit more about how we can totally impress the pants off them when they do call in. And so if they are ready to buy in straight away because they've already done their research, they will absolutely book with you guys because you guys are so impressive. But for everybody else, they're still in research. And do keep in mind that when people do ask, and you've likely heard this before, if they ask, what is the price of a crown? What is the price of Invisalign and implant? I agree with Alexi that giving them that information straight up without any rapport building or conversation may not be terribly helpful. But we have to fill in the information gap for them because they often are asking about price because they don't have the experience or knowledge to ask anything more complex. And so this is where the emailing will help that section of the market as well, the new caller market as well, because as receptionists, and I've been on the reception desk for many, many years of my career, sometimes we've got 4 minutes to have a wonderful conversation with somebody, 10 minutes. Sometimes we've got 20 seconds. We've got 2 people waiting to pay their bill, another call coming through, and a staff member singing out for some assistance. And so we need a process that's going to be able to tackle all of those scenarios for the receptionist. The minute you get an email address from that caller, you can then give them a world more amount of information than you could ever do in that telephone call. You can send them PDF brochures on let's just say, for example, they're calling about an implant. You discuss the answers with them, the questions that they have during that telephone conversation, but let them know, if you give me your email address, I've got a bunch of helpful information that I can send out to you that will help you do the research that you need to make a smart decision. And so we can add PDF files, brochures. We can build further value in our practice because we have written and constructed such a delightfully worded email that's really strong in rapport building. We can link them to our website, which has possibly a page just devoted on implants. It may have a page just devoted on, this is the experience that you're going to have when you come to us as a practice. It may have a homepage video of you guys saying, we can't wait to see you. It's going to be wonderful. And so to really get them to be quite familiar with you before they even turn up, you can have a link within the email to your Facebook site so they can see this lovely interaction with your team members and your Google reviews as well. You can reveal all the features of your practice. And you may have, if you really got your team together and said, what are all the features that we have in this practice? For example, we're truly delightful. We've got a television on the ceiling. We've got this, and that's coffee, whatever it is. You're not going to be able to artfully have that as part of your conversation with this new caller, especially if you've only got 20 seconds to have that conversation, but you can put all of this information in the email. You can put all this additional communication in there, such as payment plan offerings, all the rest of it as well. The wonderful thing about emailing, on top of all of that, is that you will be, I promise you, the only practice that does this. You'll be the only one that says, look, give me your email address. I'm going to send you a whole bunch of really helpful information. And so therefore, instantly you're standing out once they receive that email and they've got all of this data. But then if they're not ready to buy right now, if they are still in research mode, the minute they're ready to actually buy, whether it be in a month, a year, 2 years' time, they'll remember that there was a practice that was really helpful that sent me a whole bunch of information. And they just have to search their emails for that information. They've got your contact details straight away. If you hadn't sent the email but were totally delightful, how are they going to remember which of the practices that come up in my search, which of the 12 practices was it that was really helpful? I can't quite remember. And so that's my first tactic, is to get people's email addresses and have pre-formatted, pre-templated emails for your main queries. It could be implants, extractions, recalls, whatever your main queries are of new callers, whatever you're promoting at the moment, you build out a templated email. And if you don't know how to do that, contact me later on and I can tell you how to do that. But that way, we don't want to have the receptionist searching back through old emails, copying and pasting and forwarding and all that. It's too many steps. If we want to make this a consistent, easy process, then we need to get that person's email address, put it in our email, our new email, and then type a couple of codes in, and this templated email comes up instantly with all the attachments, everything you need, and that goes off straight away. That's a beautiful process. If you go to the next slide, I'll share my next tip with you. The next tip is part of and Alexi, you mentioned it before, continual improvement. And I'm a big fan of Tony Robbins, who has CANI, C-A-N-I, constant and never-ending improvement. Love it. It's how we all learn and grow. And if you get a new caller log happening, you can have it on your computer or in written format for your receptionist to fill in the spots and get the core information. So of course, the date you can see there, first name, always use a first name, get their first name, use it often. It's a very strong rapport builder. What their query was, what was the main reason why they called? This is only for new callers, as it says at the top there, not for existing callers. What their email address is, or whether they've booked in or not. So there's a tick there whether they've booked in. And then every month, use part of your monthly team meeting. And if you don't have regular team meetings, start with gathering everyone together for a half hour every month, just so you can go through this. Just so you can start to become very aware, why are new callers calling us? Which ones are booking in and which ones aren't? Because your receptionists won't be able to read minds. They won't have all of a sudden gone through a marketing diploma to figure out exactly how to manage all of these things. So support your receptionist and have it be a group effort. Gosh, it's interesting. All the whitening people aren't booking in. If they're calling up inquiring about whitening, they're not booking in. How else? What else can we do in the management of those calls so we're getting a stronger piece of the action there, that we're getting more successful in booking those new callers in? All the emergency people are booking in, the exam people are booking in, the second opinions are booking in. That's working. However, the ones that aren't, let's look at that and see what we can do, what we can introduce to help the receptionists achieve better results in that space and have it be a group collaborative effort. And Alexi, you were mentioning before, as one of the things that we're talking about is team cohesion. And you get team cohesion when we're all working together. So we're sharing the load, sharing the responsibility, sharing that space of being inquisitive about how to be better in this particular area. Okay, next slide. I hope that's helpful to you all. Building customer loyalty. Alexi was mentioning before that we've got all of these efforts that we're going to Google AdWords and advertising online, all the things that we've got open to us. And he was also speaking about recognizing what your patient avatar is. Who are you really speaking to? We all have fallen into that trap of trying to be all things to all people because we want all of them to come in. As we move on our journey on whatever businesses that we have, whether it be dental practice or me with consulting or Alexi in marketing, you start to recognize, gosh, we get better results when we're working with this kind of client, or it's far easier to make that kind of client happy because they're loving the way we do things here, or this is the kind of treatments that we offer. And therefore, we can't be all things to everyone. We're going to really focus on that group there that want those services. And that's what this, usually I've got here as a sales funnel, just to get your head in the mindset of a funnel. So my next slide makes sense. So the sales funnel is getting, going from everybody, and then they're going through a bit of a filtering process. And so what comes out the bottom, hopefully, is your avatar, the people that are really going to love coming to you because you offer what they want. If you jump to the next slide there, Alexi. So number one is what Alexi's talking about. And we're talking about what is that connection between marketing and sales. I suggest to you that you need 4 funnels in your dental practice. And especially the first 3 funnels, one cannot exist successfully without the other. The marketing funnel is all about awareness. So we're doing the SEO, AdWords, social media, mailback advertising, signage, all the things that you can do to bring about awareness of this is who we are and this is what we do. So come and see us. And next slide. That then feeds into the sales funnel. When they call up, when they walk in, the conversion of a non-patient who's interested into a patient in the appointment book itself. Could be an online booking as well if you've got those links for online bookings. And so if you're not being effective in your sales conversion funnel, we can do as much marketing as we like, but it will stop there. We'll lose all of those people that have been funneling in. They'll all go out the side and go somewhere else. We need to make sure our sales funnel is in existence and is consistently improving in itself to properly support the marketing funnel. And the next slide, marketing funnel and sales funnel, they could be working themselves beautifully. However, if you are not developing your nurture funnel, so that is how you treat your patients once they're in your surgery, returning for their recalls or their treatment plans or what have you, then again, that's where everything's going to fall down. And so your patient loyalty or nurture funnel is all about the patient experience. What happens when you're calling them back in for recalls? What happens when they come back for their recalls? What happens if they don't attend their recalls? Are we bringing them back into the fold again? All of our communications, newsletters, TLC phone calls, confirmation calls, all the things that we do to communicate with our patients when they're not physically in our practice, and follow-ups for incomplete treatment as well. If this area could be perfect. It could be kicking goals all over the place. But if our marketing and sales funnels aren't working, they don't even get there to become nurtured patients of our practice. The 4th funnel is an ideal, a reactivation funnel. So if we do lose people at the bottom of our nurture funnel, we're bringing them back in again. and we're bringing them back in again. And so they haven't been for a couple of years. Let's remind them how awesome we are. And so that is maybe enticements to come back and start attending us again. Any updates and newsletters. We've got a new dentist here. Maybe it was a dentist that rubbed them the wrong way that they weren't all that happy with. So you're letting them know things have changed a little bit. Any problem that you had may have been solved. Maybe, and wonderfully, a patient survey. Why'd you go? We'd love to see you back. What can we do to bring you back in again? And that can make sure that in your reactivation funnel, your practice, the structure of your practice in terms of the team, the customer service, the services that you offer is also continually improving. So you are more easily able to reactivate these patients within your practice. Next slide. Now, the way we build patient loyalty or customer loyalty is there are, as you know, there are so many practices out there. There's a lot of choice out there. And Alexia again was talking about a point of difference. Is the goal just to get the patient in the chair? Because if it is, we can stop right here. We don't have to worry about this because we've already been successful. But usually the goal for dental practices is not just to get a patient in the chair, it's to get a patient in the chair who is loyal to you for many, many years. And then they keep re-spending with you over and over again. Whether they're coming in every 6 months for their recalls or just coming to you only for all of their dental treatment, but there's no recalls, it's just looking after emergencies and things. The customer loyalty is what's going to help build your business viability, and having more of your patients being loyal rather than huge amounts of new patients coming through all the time, but they're quite transient in their attendance behavior. We really want those loyals to come through. The loyals that come through want to have a nice experience. They want to be treated in a friendly way. They want to be billed in a fair way. And they want to be able to be managed in such a way that is a little bit above average. Because if it's not a little bit above average, they can get what you offer anywhere. And so the minute it's easier to park in that other location, they'll go. The minute it's a little bit cheaper over there, they'll go. We want to have the point of difference that the way you get treated here, you don't get treated like this anywhere else. And so there are 4 levels of customer services, and I'll go through these nice and swiftly. Unacceptable, basic, anticipated, and unanticipated. I'm going to give you a bit of an example soon as to what the difference between these are. Unacceptable is an easy one. Unacceptable customer service is when we've turned up to that restaurant, or we've had that massage, or we've had that coaching process, or whatever the thing is that we've bought into, and we are so unhappy with the way that we were treated that we seek out the manager. Do you understand how bad that person was treating me in your business? You should fire them. Or we jump online, terrible Google review. At the very least, we tell all our friends and families, don't ever go there. They're terrible. So unacceptable is when you leave very, very disappointed to the point where you want to take action on that disappointment. One level up in customer service is basic. And basic is when you are just doing enough not to get fired by your client. I'm just scraping through. Sure, I did the service. Sure, I went ahead and I made sure that you were looked after. I wasn't terribly happy about it. You were a bit of a pain in my neck because I had to actually get up and do some effort around it. But when you, as a consumer, experience basic customer service, you leave there going, oh, look, I probably won't go back there again. But you're not so terribly upset that you're going to say bad things about them to your friends and family or leave a bad Google review. You're really pretty neutral with it all. They didn't really impress me, but I'm not terribly upset about it either. I ended up getting what I wanted. It wasn't a beautiful way, but I got what I wanted. The next level of customer service is anticipated. I deserve to be treated with respect. I want it to be friendly, professional, feed fairly, have the services I want delivered at that particular location. And you leave anticipated going, yeah, I'm pretty happy with my treatment there. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah, I'll go back there again, no dramas. And I think most of us are at anticipated. Most dental practices are at anticipated. But your point of difference comes when you come to unanticipated. I had no idea service like this existed. And we know what an unanticipated service feels like because we leave that place going, oh man, I'm going back there for sure. And I'm not just going back there for sure because I know I won't be able to experience this anywhere else. But I'm also going to tell all my friends and family, you got to go there. And I'm also jumping online, Google review, magnificent, awesome place. You all got to go. And I'm ringing up the manager. You have to know how good your team is. And unanticipated, if you go to the next slide, Alexi, I'm going to show you it's not unattainable. 2 quick examples of these 4 levels of customer service. Answering the telephone. Unacceptable is where a manager would come in and speak to that employee straight away because that was unacceptable customer service. So they might just answer the phone and go, hello. Basic, there's no interest in the patient, but we're just going to get the job done. Dental surgery, so at least they know they've called the dental surgery. Anticipated, where most of us are. Good morning, dental practice, Julie speaking. How can I help you? Sounds totally delightful, wonderful. But unanticipated is using exactly the same words, but completely different experience. Good morning, dental practice, Julie speaking. How can I help you? Different energy. And so unanticipated is about bringing high interest and high energy into everything you do. Another quick example, patient inquiry. Do you do Invisalign, or how much is Invisalign? I don't know. You would pull that employee to the side and make sure they were trained up in that before they took another one of those phone calls. Basic, so no interest in the patient, is $5,000. I had just answered their question. I'm not doing anything on top. Anticipated, what most of us are likely doing. We answer the query and then we ask, is there anything else I can help you with? But unanticipated, we answer the query in a conversational manner. Oh, that's so exciting that you're looking at Invisalign. Is it for yourself? Is it for a child? Is it for a special occasion? And so there's a bit of back and forth with the patient. And then if they were there in person, we'd possibly draw a diagram. We'd use display models. We'd offer them brochures. If they were, coming over the phone, we'd make sure we emailed them out those brochures to their email address. Whatever is needed so the patient gains a complete understanding. Our intention isn't just to answer the question of the patient. Our intention is to make sure the patient fully understands and has answers to questions they don't even have the knowledge to be able to ask yet. Next slide. The wonderful thing about delivering creating this kind of unanticipated customer service is, and it's absolutely trainable. Do it in role plays, like get everyone in a big conversation around, we know what anticipated looks like, and that's wonderful. That's professional, that's friendly, that's great. But what does it look like when we add a whole bunch of energy and enthusiasm? Where does that put us now? And let's practice it out so we all know what it feels like to roll that out. And so we can more easily start being consistent with how we do that. Remind everybody in every morning huddle, remember, we're going to focus on how we welcome a patient into the surgery or into the practice itself. That's where we're going to do unanticipated for the moment. How we answer the phone is now going to become unanticipated. And step by step, you are slowly incorporating all of the communications that you have with patients to be that of unanticipated. One of the wonderful things is that when you deliver unanticipated customer service as a team member, and this is when we're talking about the team cohesion behind the one big purpose, the one big goal, is that's where you become passionate about what you do. When you are rolling out unacceptable customer service, you end up feeling resentful as a team member. You don't want your job. You're pissed off. You need to even turn up. When you're rolling out basic customer service, you're pretty apathetic about it. You don't really care about the patient. You just want to get the task done so you don't get fired. Where a lot of us are right now, when we're delivering anticipated customer service, we have job satisfaction there. Absolutely. We leave work. We enjoy working with the team members. We enjoy delivering that kind of service with patients. It's good. But passion, when you leap out of bed in the morning, and it's been my personal experience that this is absolutely for sure. It is only when I've been delivering unanticipated customer service throughout my career that I have then become passionate about my job. I love my job, no matter what role I was in when I was doing it. Love it. Can't wait to get back into the surgery again. You leave work for the day going, man, did I have a good impact? I'm freaking awesome. And that comes from the unanticipated delivery of great customer service. And you can get the whole team behind this by delivering the role play, the opportunity for role play, practice, repetition, modeling of people who do it really well within your organization, get better and better as a team. It's one of our driving forces. In Daniel Pink's book, Drive, one of our driving forces is mastery and purpose, to get better at what we do and all be moving towards a grander goal than just us. Next slide. So always remember, when we're talking about cohesiveness with team members, there needs to be trust. We need to care about each other, and we need to be on the path of growth. When your team have these three elements in play, your team will be very strong. You won't be perfect in these areas all the time. It's not about being perfect all the time. It's that constant drive and intention and action towards this. And if things start to drop off, things are happening to catch that and bring it back into balance again. Trust is required in order for people to stretch out and go beyond delivering anticipated into the unanticipated space, so that they are excited by it, so they feel supported in it, they feel safe to do it. Caring is when we're really enjoying cheering each other on. You did so brilliantly, that one. Gosh, your manner on the phone is just becoming so awesome. And we really truly care about each other. And if you're struggling, I'm here for you. And growth, we're all growing together. Next slide. So if you are intrigued about any of the elements that I've brought to the table in this webinar, and you would like to discuss it, or you'd like to have any presentations delivered to you on these particular products, on these particular processes, please QR code me or call me or email me anytime, or go to the website there. It's got all my contact details on the website, and you will be able to see all of my offerings within the website as well. But I would also be thrilled to jump onto a call with any of you and step you through the process as well. That's not too bad, Alexi, 4 minutes to go.
Great. Well, thanks, Julie. I think you've touched on some really, really important topics, but I thought it'd be good to have just a quick summary of everything. And I guess you may be able to sort of contribute to some of this summary as well. I guess for me personally, I think it's very important to start with goals. If you got to set goals about what it is that you actually want, and then from there, work out how you're actually going to get there. You got to plan your marketing and understand exactly what's involved from your team, and also how much is actually going to cost you as well. Focus on the right clients, please. Like I meet a lot of tired business owners that are just trying to sort of service everybody, not very profitable in the end, but always busy. Don't be like that. Make sure you invest in your team. You do the training, but specific to what it is that you actually want to do. I think Julie's touched on some really important points. Trust, care, and growth are really good parameters to address. And then make sure that you enable things like customer loyalty, because I think a lot of businesses just think that is going to come naturally. You really need to work around something like that. And yeah, once again, focus on customer service, because that's really what creates happy customers and activates the whole process as well. Excellent. Well, I guess let's go into questions and answers. Has anybody got any questions? Use the chat, or potentially if you want to unmute, just hit the ask to unmute, and we'll unmute you from there. I'll put a couple of Q&As together just in case, because I know we always get a bit of a shy audience. But yeah, if you got a question, please jump ahead. All right, well, let's start with a Q&A. Maybe we'll have a couple of people typing away. These are some of the frequently asked questions I had been asked by some of the clients, and some of the questions came through early on. What works better for practices, Google ads or social ads? This is a really common question. I'm not sure if, Julia, this is something that people ask you, but really it depends on the sort of campaigns that you're running. If you are wanting to promote something that is really straightforward that people are searching for, Google ads typically work a lot better. In the sense that people know what they're searching for, so the inquiries tend to be better quality. Social media is great for awareness, but if you're basically going to advertise for new customers, the quality of leads is often not quite the same. However, if you are promoting some sort of a great offer and wanting to build a list, social media goes a lot better than Google, because it's cheaper and it reaches a lot more people faster.
Alexi, a little while ago, I was aware that you could get, if you had a collection of, for example, email addresses of people that had called up inquiring about an implant, say you had 20 people's email addresses for this, that within Facebook, you could upload them in a Facebook boost or ad, and they won't realize it, but all of a sudden your ads will just appear on their timeline. Is that actually the case?
That's right. So this is called building an audience, and you can upload your customers or your prospects. However, 20 probably wouldn't cut it. There are limits in each and every single industry. Typically, you want probably somewhere between 200 and 500 people within that audience. And then from there, Facebook or Google does the same thing, creates an audience of people that you can then market. So your email, as long as it aligns with the profile on the actual Facebook, will potentially be receiving those ads moving forward. Yeah.
Nice.
Good question. One question I received was, we are busy, should we focus on online booking rather than receptionists handling inquiries? That's a good question. I guess it really depends on the sort of market that you're targeting. What's your take on this, Julie? I mean, what do you think?
I think there's a lot of people now that don't particularly like speaking on the phone, like the younger generation. For me, I mean, I'm in my 50s now, but I prefer to speak on the phone with people, but there are younger generations that don't want to speak on the phone. So this is where the online bookings are wonderful. But the other reason why the online bookings are fantastic is that they can book in at 11 o'clock at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, whenever suits them. Nothing takes the place of the rapport you can build with somebody on the phone, but you have to have another system there for those people that are kind of alienated or disengaged with the thought that they have to speak to you on the phone.
I find that really one doesn't replace another, and you find that online bookings work really well after hours, like you said. But at the same time, if you are booking procedures, for a provider that you've seen in the past, you're much more likely to do it because you already know who they are, where they are, and how they sort of go about things. With the new inquiries, I do recommend trying to handle those, through the calls if possible, and especially if you're selling high ticket items, really having a bit of a process. And phone is still a better way to create more quality. That's a better way to go. Next question I've got is, people often don't show up. Is there a process that we can implement? Julie, I'm sure you get this question a lot. What's your answer to it?
It is certainly one of the drawbacks of the online bookings. It's just too easy to book without having any true commitment to that appointment time. Yeah. And who cares if nothing happens after that. I know one of the people within who's attending today, actually, they've got a great system that anyone that books online, if they're a new patient, they also get a follow-up phone call as well, kind of making sure that you are building that commitment into the appointment time itself. I think one of the things that can help a new patient not just not show up, they not show up because there's no great cost to them. They don't know you, nothing to lose. But if you have sent them out, part of your booking process is to get their email address, or if it's just an SMS that you send out, you can do a link to a welcome page on your email, on your website, which is either seen or it's just it's a closed email page, a website page, where you're saying, you've got you guys saying, welcome, it's so great that you've booked in, and there's a form if you want to fill that in, and this is kind of the experience that you're going to have. This is where you can park, just to make sure you know exactly where we are. This is where it is. If you can make yourselves as likable as possible and start to indicate this place is a little bit different, it's a little bit unanticipated, if they want to see you again in the future, they know they shouldn't really have to fail you now. And so you want to make it a little bit more compelling, have something to lose if they were just to not show up to this appointment time.
Yeah. One of our chiropractor clients has put together an email sequence where they enter people once they've missed the first appointment, and they normally do it to existing customers because they sort of realize that if a new patient doesn't show up, you can't really pressure them too much. But with the existing ones, at least you can take them through a bit of a process. So if you miss the first one, you get an email saying, you missed your appointment, no problem this time. However, in the future, due to we're being busy and so on, we will be charging X amount for that specifically. And that actually gets a lot of people at least calling prior if they're running late or potentially wanting to reschedule as well. That seems to work really well for them. What is a good budget for digital marketing campaigns? Well, this is a good question. I think there's no such thing as a good budget. It's really more about your goals and as to what it is that you're wanting to get. Put it this way, depending on your service, your leads through digital marketing may range anywhere from $5 to $100. I mean, we typically average, let's say, about $20, $25 for general dental inquiries. However, I found that overall, if you're running social media, if you're ranking organically and you're doing Google ads, like if you're talking about Google ads specifically, I find about $500 per chair per practice is a sort of fair amount in order to sort of build that up. The reason why I say that is because whenever you run Google ads and you do that in the same sort of area as your organic results, you typically complement those ads as well. So that actually works out quite okay. So I'd say roughly about $500 per chair per practice if you're sort of looking for a figure. But once again, it really depends on your goals and your services as well. how do we go about creating a strong team culture? Now, Julie, this is probably along your specialty. I mean, give us some tips. How would we create a strong team culture?
One of the best things you can do is get all your team members together for a bit of a brainstorming session and say, what do we do that's fantastic? And what do we do that we could do without? And what new ideas, fresh ideas does anybody have that we could introduce that would help the way we interact with one another? Team culture is all about developing agreements with one another. This is how I will behave with you if I need to ask your help, ask your advice, give you a point for improvement, let you know if a patient's complained about you. If, you know, sometimes it's a very difficult thing to do for a young dentist that you go, oh, I'm the receptionist, I have to go to the young dentist and say that the patient didn't like a certain thing. So it's about developing agreements about this is how we behave, this is how we celebrate, this is what we do in the good times, this is what we do in the more challenging times, and making that commitment to go forward. And you've got to build within your team culture as much as you can, trust, caring, and growth. It's only through growth that we can have people who are flexible in their spaces, in the desire to do better or do things differently, and help the group as a whole rather than just live there for themselves by themselves. I've got a great concept of what can I do for you, that if anybody did want to reach out and find out the what can I do for you, it's these little wristbands that can really help improve the team culture in your organization. It's a great journey to do it because it offers the team members the great support. It's a reminder every day. Remember, we've got this concept of what can we do for you? What can we do for each other? And I'm going to put that on my wrist and consider that throughout my functioning today with the team. It also extends out to be great for leadership and customer service as well. So if anyone's interested in that, just let me know and I'll send out that recording, that presentation.
Great. And the last question in the FAQ section that I've got is, our staff doesn't like the idea of sales. How do we go about this? Now, personally, I find that, you know, in my business, and it's quite normal, people don't like to sell things, especially if they're not like people focused, if they're introverts. I find that the idea of delivering a service is really about solving a problem. So the whole sale, if you can change the idea around a sale as to solving a problem, the whole thing flows a lot better. What's your take on this, Julie? How do you sort of, how would you approach this question?
Sales, I think, for dental team members, such as all medical team members, that whether, you know, they're coming into the industry not because they like sales, but because they like caring for people. When you have the goal of the sale, sales is uncomfortable for people who are like-minded, usually within dental teams. Don't have that as the goal. Have the goal as informing and helping the patient. If you've informed and helped the patient and they've decided, I don't want to go ahead with this, you're still successful. The goal is that they are informed and assisted to a degree that if they chose to do it, they're going to book in with you because you guys have been the one that have helped them in that space. So don't have the sale as the goal. Have patient engagement as the goal.
Great. Well, I think that's a great answer. And look, we are sort of going a little bit over time. I think, you know, with this webinar in place, we'd really love some feedback. And I want to say thank you for making the time to attend. Julie's and my email addresses are here. If you guys want to claim the CPD points, here is the form on the website. And I will send out an email as well for you to fill out the form so we could provide you with those certificates. I really do appreciate you jumping on. We've got a couple of webinar topics. And look, at this stage, I'm still deciding whether to do this once a month, once every couple of months. Overall, it's just about educating people and being on the same page. For us, this works really well in terms of forming relationships. Some of the topics I've had sort of brought up to me in the past were growing your online reputation. People really struggle with things like Google reviews and all the likes. Best accounting practice. The whole accounting thing is a completely different space for me, and we do have quite a few partners in relation to it. Systems and automation. What are some of the best systems to use for the practices, and how do we go about sort of automating things to free up a little bit more time? Leadership and development. That's probably one of the topics that you cover quite a lot, Julie. And then patient engagement as well. If you guys have missed the CPD link, it's over here, practiceresult.com.au/dental-practice-success. And I will send out an email with this link as well afterwards. We are, after all, recording this webinar for those who could leave, had to leave early or could not attend it. So guys, that's it. Thank you very much for being a great audience. Really appreciate you making the time. Julie, thank you for putting together a great presentation. And look, I look forward to potentially speaking to some of you in the future. And if you got any questions, and if you're going to be watching this through YouTube, through our channel, please comment below or email us directly on our emails. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for the opportunity to be in front of everyone. And Victoria did a little wave. Hello, Victoria, to you as well. Many thanks from Shannon. It's been a delight. It's always a delight to speak with people in dental teams on how to be more successful, because there are so many things to cover off in terms of our practice success. And so any opportunity, honour everybody for devoting time and energy to that constant and never-ending improvement journey. Alexi, thank you for the opportunity. Thanks, Sally.
Thanks very much, guys. Well, look forward to the emails from us. And look, if you do want to cover any of these topics, or you've got some other topics that you think may potentially be helpful to you in terms of your continuous professional development, please hit us up. Anyway, have a great day and chat to you soon.
Thanks for your kind comment, Rebecca, as well. You're an awesome chick with an awesome product. Thanks, Shannon. Beautiful.